If you're on hormone therapy and you are just not loving it, but you should love it, your bestie loves it, and social media is telling you you should love it, but maybe you're questioning your dose or you're questioning what you're on, you're questioning because you have side effects, then yeah, we need to talk about 5 things that can really impact if your hormone therapy is going to work well for you. Now, let me set the stage a little bit. I'm going to talk about hormone therapy such as progesterone and estradiol, testosterone, and DHEA. Because we have all 4 of these hormones in our body, when you are going through the whole transition, perimenopause into postmenopause, nailing it can be difficult, depending where you are in this whole transition. If you're in the wild and out roller coaster phase, nailing it may be tougher than if you are in the completely depleted postmenopausal phase. And that's why you feel the way that you do. But other aspects can play into it. And I'm going to give you 5 ways or 5 categories, questions you can talk to your prescribing healthcare about to say, I don't think this is working. I'm having side effects, or I'm not loving this. Are there other options? Here are my questions. Here are my categories I want to talk about. Number 1, the category of which hormone are you on? What are you taking? So we have progesterone, testosterone, estradiol, and DHEA. Are there other hormones? Absolutely. You may be on estriol as well. You might be on thyroid hormone as well. I'm just going to sort of stick to these main 4 for now. DHEA, I will caveat, is generally used vaginally, not as much incorporated as part of hormone therapy, even though it absolutely can be. And DHEA as a hormone is in the United States over the counter. So not a lot of hormone prescribing practitioners use it because it's often viewed more as a supplement as opposed to a hormone, but it is a hormone. I do want to preface all that. That's why I'm including it in this conversation. All right, what hormone are you starting with? A lot of times practitioners will start with progesterone because progesterone is the first hormone to go down in perimenopause for the majority of women. And I mean, this is assuming you have not had your ovaries removed. If you've had your ovaries removed, like some of this definitely completely still applies to you, but you maybe have been given just estrogen instead of progesterone. So hold on until I get to the estrogen section. So let's say you started with just progesterone. You're like, yep, Carrie, I was prescribed 100 milligrams of prometrium, which is micronized progesterone, bioidentical. That's the first thing I was given, and I hated it for whatever reason. Some women love it. Let's say you don't like it. You hate it. You may also, somebody else listening to this may have been started with testosterone. They weren't started with progesterone or estrogen or DHEA. If you've had your ovaries removed, you were probably started with estradiol. That's the first thing you were started with. A lot of times practitioners drip you into it and they'll start with one hormone. Sometimes you might be listening to this thinking, no, I was given them all. I was given estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, and maybe DHEA. I was given everything. No wonder you feel crazy. So that's number 1. Number 1 is, which one did you start with? Did you do one at a time so you know which one is causing the issue for you? If you started everything at once, then you're hating life, we may have to back you out of that and start just one at a time and figure out that one, then move on to the next one. The order is also important because if you started with testosterone first, as an example, you start with testosterone first, and let's say you already had okay levels of testosterone, or it set you over the edge for the androgenic side effects, such as hair loss, cystic acne, anger, and irritation. So you went on testosterone because you thought you needed it, or your libido was low. And then you're like, holy crap, now I'm really angry all the time and my face is breaking out, but I thought I needed testosterone. You actually maybe needed to start with progesterone and estradiol first. If you have had a hysterectomy and your ovaries removed and you started with estradiol and that's it, you weren't given progesterone because maybe your surgeon or your doctor told you, oh, you had a hysterectomy, you don't need progesterone. So once the uterus is removed, then we don't worry about the concept of hyperplasia, which is a thickening in the inside of the uterus because you don't have a uterus. The issue is you have progesterone receptors all over, up in your brain, down to the tips of your toes. And estrogen and progesterone for a lot of women are like Thelma and Louise. They're like peanut butter and jelly, like they go together. So if you were just started on estradiol, you may be thinking, I'm only getting half the pie here. This is ridiculous. I need progesterone. So that's number 1. Where did you start? Which hormone did you start with? What was the next hormone you added if you did? And or did you just start with everything at once and like holy Moses, that just completely derailed you? So number 1, you're going to ask your practitioner, maybe we shouldn't have started with all 4, or maybe the 3, estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. Or you're going to ask to add in progesterone if you've had a hysterectomy and they felt like you don't need progesterone. But maybe you do, because progesterone, when you don't have it, can increase anxiety, and it can increase insomnia, and it can increase all these mood stuff. We like progesterone. Progesterone plays well in the body. We have it and have had it for decades. So not to have it can cause side effects and symptoms. So that's number 1. Number 2, makes sense. What's your dose? What's your dose? It's entirely possible you were started on the babiest of baby doses. No wonder you don't feel anything. It's also possible you were started on, a mega dose. You were started, maybe the place you go is very pro anti-aging, and they start people on very high doses. No wonder you don't feel well. If you are a sensitive person, which a lot of women are, and especially as they go through perimenopause, dose matters. So ask your prescribing practitioner, like, where is this dose? If you are on progesterone, the capsule, the starting dose usually is 100 milligrams. Sometimes I've seen women jumped into 200, 300, 400 milligrams as opposed to starting with 100. You maybe did start with 100, and that's still too much for you. You need to get it compounded at a smaller dose. You need to be on 75 or 50 or 25 and kind of work your way up. If you are the kind of person that already is sensitive, if you're sensitive. You already know if you were prescribed an antibiotic that you need like half the dose, like you're going to react. You have to be real careful. You already know if you take an over-the-counter pain medication that like you kind of just lick it, or like you take one. You're very sparing with anything. If you take a supplement, you take half, like you take a little bit of the dose. If you're that person, the same applies for hormones as well. I don't know why you would think otherwise. So keep this in mind that like, oh my gosh, yeah, totally dose. And it applies for all hormones. On estradiol, if you're on a patch and you're on the smallest dose, which is 0.025, or the highest dose, which is or 0.1, then you may have to adjust within there. Now, number 3 is the route. I will say the route and any manufacturer changes. So now let's say the route to progesterone is a capsule, but that's not working for you. Well, we can do vaginal as an example. There are progesterone injections. There's progesterone creams. Let's say you're doing the estrogen patch and you hate the patch. You're reacting to the adhesive. It's totally possible you're just reacting to the adhesive of that manufacturer. Talk to your pharmacist about maybe getting a different manufacturer, especially if it's generic. Or if all of a sudden your estrogen patch is causing adhesive reaction on your skin, it's likely the manufacturer changed. So you want to talk to your pharmacist and say, hey, can you look up in the computer, what did I have before? What manufacturer? Because I didn't react and I'm reacting now. And if it's a different manufacturer, it's a different adhesive, and that's why you're reacting. But let's say you're like, no, Carrie, trust me, I've tried all the patches. I hate them all. Cool. Let's try gel, right? Let's try gel. Let's try the mist. Let's try vaginal. We have all sorts of options, which is wonderful. Now, I will, of course, caveat, like I am a fan of compounding, but I am very aware that places like the Menopause Society are not necessarily fans of compounding because it's not FDA approved. When you get something compounded, it's an N of 1. It's made for you, for like your needs. But it's also really important that we have compounding because if you are on progesterone capsules, known as Prometrium, that's the branded name, and you have a peanut allergy, well, you shouldn't be on that because peanut oil is in there. So then you have to have it compounded without peanut oil. It has to be made for you. They don't make a progesterone that's readily available without peanut oil. So understanding where some of this like ideation comes from is really important. So I'm pro compounding because if you can't tolerate peanut oil, or you can't tolerate, some of the binders and fillers in there, or we need a different dose for you, 100 milligrams is too much, we need 50 because you're very sensitive, that's okay. I love compounding for that reason. But going back to route, know that there are lots of routes. There are the most common routes. Progesterone capsules are the most common route. Usually it's what's started for most women. But if that doesn't work for you, there are other routes available. Same for estrogen. The estrogen patch is very common to start with. But if you don't like it, then we have to find something else for you. Now, do keep in mind, like if you are reactive, like the patch is a great example. I already mentioned the adhesive part of it. But like if you sweat a lot, if you are a heavy exerciser, you are a trainer, you live in an area that most of the year is very humid and very hot and you're sweating a whole bunch, it's entirely possible, according to research, you are not getting as much estrogen in as you thought you are because the patch is struggling against all the sweat and the humidity to even get through your skin. Maybe you're a swimmer. I've been reading a lot of Reddit boards of athletes, people who work out a lot, people who are in the ocean, people who are in lakes all summer long. You're in your pool all summer long. You like to go in the sauna. You are, a shower friendly girl, which is most of us probably are. And then you're like, well, the patch fell off. What do I do? And so they're talking about, well, you have to put a Band-Aid over it, or you have to put like one of those waterproof adhesive tapes over it, which is great if the patch is working for you and you're willing to do that. I am a very skin sensitive person. Unfortunately, I react to a lot of stuff for the skin. So to put a patch on me and then to put waterproof adhesive tape over it, pretty good chance I'm going to break out. And then it's not going to work very well. I'm not going to absorb that estrogen. So when it comes time for me in particular to use estrogen, I'm going to have to really think that through of like, am I going to start with the patch or am I going to switch? Am I going to probably end up starting with the gel to begin with, because of my sensitive skin? But we don't often get taught this. So if that's you, if you're thinking like, wait, that's me, I'm a sensitive skin, I'm totally reacting with this patch and I don't feel like it's working anyhow, I'm not feeling as like great as I feel like I should, then bring these up to your pharmacist, bring this up to your prescribing practitioner and just say like, can I switch to the gel? Can I switch to vaginal? Can I switch to these other options? Now that brings me to location. Now you might be thinking, location, what do you mean? So, and this is for the topical things or the vaginal things or the vulvar things, where are you putting it? If you're using a patch, like the estrogen patch, most of the handouts, when you get the prescription, will say that it needs to go on the low belly, as an example. When you listen to the comments and you get anecdotal feedback from all your patients, they go, I've been putting it on my low back and it's working better. It's not bothering me as much. I'm not knocking it off as much. It's like in the back and out of the way, which is totally fine. So it's, if this sounds like you, if you're like, yeah, I hate it in the front. I hate it catches on like, when I'm going to the bathroom, it's when I'm putting lotion on, like I would much rather have it in my low back instead. Yeah, ask the pharmacist, ask your prescribing healthcare practitioner. Is it possible like the location is the issue? The same goes for gels or creams. If you're rubbing something on, hormones like fat. They're lipophilic. That means fat loving. So if you happen to have a lot of fat under your skin, then it tends to stay in that area. This is why for some people they go, well, I used to apply my estrogen or progesterone gel or cream to my inner thigh, but I wasn't feeling it. When I switched to my inner arm, your inner arm, like around your elbow area, wrist, that's really thin skin, no matter what, as opposed to maybe your thigh or your belly area. That's usually got a little more fluff on it, right? Got a little more bounce there. And so women will say to me, I noticed a difference. I felt better. I just felt like it was getting in more with this thin skin. Other women don't notice that. Other women are like, it doesn't matter where I apply it. I feel like $1,000,000. Fantastic. If that's not you, if you're like, wait a minute, hold on, I do apply it to my thigh and I have been thinking this isn't working, talk to your pharmacist, talk to your prescribing healthcare practitioner. Location, location, location. Maybe you need to switch to the inner arm or behind the knee. Behind the knee is thin skin, rubbing it back there. I do want to add a little caveat when you use anything topical, so such as vulvar, vaginal, or on the skin, make sure you wash your hands really well, because if you apply it, rub it in, and then you go about your day, you're just going to transfer the hormone that's on your fingertips to potentially the rest of the people in your family, your animals, like the people you work with, depending where and how you apply it topically. So do keep that in mind. Now, I mentioned earlier vulvar versus vaginal, and I mean location is very specifically here because if you are noticing dryness, thinness, pain down there, but it's more on the outside, then you want to make sure that you talk to your healthcare practitioner about adjusting where you apply it is the outside. Your instructions when you pick up from the pharmacist might say, insert up inside the vagina, like push it up like a tampon. But you might be thinking in your head, that's not where the issue is. The issue's on the outside. The lips are shrinking. Things are getting really dry. It's cracked. It's itchy. I'm having urinary tract infections. That's all like outside or quasi outside. So whatever you're applying needs to be outside or quasi outside. If it's up inside, you're having lots of dryness, pain up inside, irritation up inside, then it needs to be applied up inside. You might need both. You might be listening to this going, I'm an innie and an outie. I've got issues up inside and on the outside. Not a problem. Not a problem. So you're going to bring up location to your pharmacist or to your prescribing practitioner and say, here's where I feel it. I want to make sure whatever I'm applying or inserting goes in the right place. That leads me to the last. Are you on synthetic versus bioidentical? And this, again, synthetic versus bioidentical is around, is it working for you? So if you have been prescribed a synthetic estrogen, so like let's pretend you've been prescribed Premarin, the estrogen, the synthetic estrogen capsule or a pill, and you're not loving life. You don't like it. You're not feeling relief in a lot of areas. It's possible, first of all, route matters. So that's an estrogen pill, route matters. Maybe you need a patch or a gel or vaginal instead. And it's possible synthetic matters for you. Maybe you do better doing estradiol, which is bioidentical. What does that mean? Bioidentical largely is kind of considered like a marketing term. It's not an actual sciencey term yet, but we know what it means in the sciencey world. It's basically like an estrogen that looks like your estrogen, like directly, one-to-one. Estradiol is like the estradiol you make in your body. Synthetic estrogen, synthetic estradiol, doesn't. It's close-ish. It can, like obviously there's a lot of overlap and it can help do the job. But because it's not directly same, that it can cause other issues. It can cause side effects for a lot of women. Not that bioidentical is side effect free. It is not. But I'm just telling you the difference in your body may be super sensitive and not love the synthetic. You would prefer the bioidentical. But I have women that are the reverse. They have tried all the bioidentical and hate them. None of it works for them. And then I put them on the synthetic and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I feel so good. It's not as common, but it happens. And I want to bring it up. So if you are on a synthetic or a bioidentical, it's helpful for you to know this. And if you're not sure, you can read the insert and see what it says, or you can ask your pharmacist. You can look online or ask your pharmacist, like, which one did I get? Am I doing bioidentical or am I doing a synthetic? And this applies to progesterone as well. And you can just decide like, oh, you know what? I'm having all these side effects. I wonder if. So there we go. If your hormone therapy isn't working for you, it's entirely possible. Like, what did you start with? Did you start with everything at once? And maybe you shouldn't have. Or maybe you started in the not necessarily the wrong order. It's the order your practitioner thought was the right order, and it's not the right order for you. Like maybe we need to pull some of the hormones out or switch around some of the hormones you're on. Then what dose are you on? Maybe it's too low or too high. Like, Goldilocks. Like let's figure out for you. It may take some adjusting. I wish we all came with a manual that would tell me exactly at what age you need what dose. We're not there. It could be the route. Maybe you're reacting to the capsule. Maybe you're reacting to the patch. Maybe you don't like the gel. Maybe the vaginal is just not working for you. We have options. We can do different routes. Location. If you're doing something on, the arm, the thigh, the belly, up inside, down below, on the outside, down below, like where the location? An area with a lot of fat under the skin, an area of thin skin, right? Location matters. So we can adjust that somewhat. And lastly, what form are you taking? Is it a synthetic form or a bioidentical form? And everybody's different. So I want to give you these options so you can take notes, talk to your pharmacist, talk to your practitioner, your prescribing practitioner, and get the help that you need. Because the last thing I want is for you to be stuck on a hormone where you're like, I thought this would be amazing. I thought this would be like gold, and I am not feeling like gold. But you look at the women around you, and a lot of the women around you are in the comments of social media are going, oh, this is gold. It's changed my life. And you're like, what is wrong with me? This did not change my life. Or I'm feeling 50% better, but not like 100. I want to feel like gold. I want to feel like a 10, like a dime piece. Like, what is wrong? We have options. And I'm going to talk you through it. Woo, I know that was a lot. So hormones obviously feel like herding cats. Trying to dial in your hormone therapy can sometimes feel like herding cats. But as you can guess, I'm here to help. I'm here to break all this down. I'm here to help give you the clinical pearls, the secrets that I wish weren't the secrets, that I wish was super common knowledge, so that you can go back to your pharmacist or your practitioner, your healthcare practitioner, and say, hey, can I make some switches? Can you make some switches? Can we make some switches? Because I want to feel like gold, and I don't feel like gold.